a look at this graph. It shows Nick DiGiovanni's subscriber growth over the past 4 years. Notice anything unusual? That's right, it's nearly vertical. Nick has grown faster than almost any other food creator in YouTube history. But what's really interesting is what happened right here. This is the moment Nick implemented a new strategy that changed everything for him. And today, I'm going to reveal exactly what that strategy was so you can do the same. I'm Leroy, a YouTube strategist working with some of the most fun creators in the world who get millions of views every single day. And in this video, I'm diving into the success behind Nick DiGiovanni. Nick DiGiovanni wasn't even planning on becoming the YouTube sensation we know today. As a small kid, he was already madly in love with cooking, thanks to his grandmother. When he was just a tiny Nick, he already made his custom food menus and tried to make money from his parents for creating dishes for them. There might be a hint here about his business-savvy brain later on, but we'll return to that. In fact, his journey began in a place you might not expect at all: Harvard University. But here's the thing, Nick wasn't your typical Ivy League student. While most of his classmates were hitting the books or the parties, Nick was getting restaurant jobs to fuel his passion for cooking and learning to improve at the craft. Now, you might wonder, what's a guy passionate about food doing at Harvard? Well, the truth is, Nick was originally studying environmental science, but it was his passion for cooking that was about to change the course of his entire life. Picture this, Nick's walking to class one day, probably thinking about his next recipe or something similar, when he spots something that stops him in his tracks. It's a poster for MasterChef auditions. Now, most people would glance at it and keep walking, but for Nick, this was a pivotal moment. The universe was serving up an opportunity on a silver platter. So, what does Nick do? He takes a leap of faith and auditions for MasterChef. And boom, he lands a spot on season 10. Now, things got a bit more complicated. We're talking about 3.5 months of filming, cut off from the outside world while he was in the middle of his senior year in college at Harvard. But here's the key though, Nick thrived in this environment. He cooked his way to the top 3, impressing none other than Gordon Ramsay himself. Now, we all know Gordon doesn't hand out compliments like candy.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
Idiot sandwich what?
So this was a big deal. Obviously, finishing third on MasterChef is a huge accomplishment, but for Nick, it was nothing more than the beginning. This experience was like a crash course in creating content that people want to see, and Nick took note. Why do you think MasterChef remains such a popular show? Because it has all the ingredients a viral YouTube video has as well. Nick just didn't realize it yet. Think about it. On MasterChef, it's not just about cooking. They tell a story with every dish and every contestant, they create suspense with every timer, and deliver payoffs with every judge's reaction. Does that maybe sound familiar? It's the exact same elements that keep viewers glued to videos on YouTube. But here's where Nick's story takes another unexpected turn. After graduating from Harvard and his MasterChef adventure, he was offered a 6-figure job as a food inspector at McDonald's. Now, for most people, that would be a dream come true. A prestigious degree and a high-paying job right out of college? That's the dream, right? Well, not for Nick. In a move that probably had his parents risking a heart attack, Nick turned down the job to pursue content creation and his own business. And the MasterChef star would have instant YouTube success, right? Well, not quite. Because here's the thing, cooking on a TV show that is perfected over years of shooting it versus cooking on your own new YouTube channel are two very different things. Nick decided to make his first video about the dessert he would have made if he had reached the MasterChef finals, and it has gotten over 3.8 million views so far. An insanely successful start, you might think. But after that video, he posted another one, and silent. Crickets. Tumbleweeds. The views just weren't coming in. Nick tried again, posting a few more videos, but they all flopped harder than every single attempt I made at cooking in my life so far. The situation got so bad that Nick deleted these early videos entirely. Now, you might be wondering, what went wrong? A few key ingredients are missing from Nick's early YouTube recipe. He lacked the 3 systems within the strategy he developed over time later. And on top of that, Nick was still learning the ropes of video production. As he said, he was learning to use a camera, edit videos, and shoot content in his bedroom. But here's the real kicker. Nick's early YouTube journey was incredibly inconsistent. He posted his first video in October 2019, but then nothing. Radio silence. He didn't start posting regularly until September 2020, almost a year later. And when it comes to learning how to become good at anything, you need repetition. Many clients I work with, like JJ, grew to 100,000 subscribers within a few months simply because they did the repetitions. He made loads of videos, learned from every single one, and improved time after time. A journey Nick didn't take because of his early failure on the platform and how that impacted him. Now, let's talk about the psychological impact of this early failure. For many creators, this kind of setback would be enough to make them sell their camera and call it quits, right? And honestly, who could blame them? Putting yourself out there only to have your content flop is tough. It's like serving your best dish to Gordon Ramsay and having him spit it out on national television. But here's where Nick's story takes an interesting turn. Instead of giving up, he decided to step back and reassess his strategy. He realized that success on YouTube requires a lot of hours and is a relentless, constant process. It's not just about having cooking skills or being a MasterChef star. Those were just his unfair advantages. But if you don't know how to use your unfair advantages in a way that viewers want to watch, you will not succeed. Not even if you are like someone like Nick. It's about understanding the platform, your audience, and how to create content that resonates. So, what made Nick decide to give YouTube another shot? Well, it turns out that sometimes success comes from unexpected places. During the pandemic, Nick found himself going viral on TikTok, and this sudden burst of popularity gave him the confidence boost he needed to restart his YouTube channel. But Nick didn't just jump back in blindly. He knew that if he wanted consistent growth, he needed to learn from his mistakes and make some crucial changes. So, he started collaborating with his friend Manny Karash, who helped him film long-form videos in 2020. This partnership brought a new level of quality and consistency to Nick's content. Nick's comeback wasn't just about better production quality though. Over time, Nick perfected his first system within his strategy to create viral videos repeatedly. Story. And it all started when he unlocked a psychological trick that would turn the casual viewers he reached into die-hard fans. What if I told you there's a way to make your audience crave your content like it's their favorite meal? That's exactly what Nick figured out, and it's all about creating curiosity-driven content. Now, you might be thinking, isn't all content supposed to be interesting? Well, yes. But Nick took it to a whole new level. He didn't just make cooking videos, he turned them into mini mysteries that viewers couldn't resist solving. Nick's videos aren't just about showing you how to cook something. They are about creating little cliffhangers throughout the video that keep you glued to your screen. You know how you can't stop watching a TV show when each episode ends on a cliffhanger? Nick does that in a single video. It's what I like to call mini payoffs. Let's break this down in one of his most popular videos called Tasting Food from Every Decade by looking at his intro first.
In front of me are the most iconic foods from the past 100 years. We've got Kool-Aid from 1942, rare canned Doritos from 1995, and so much more.
What Nick does here is a brilliant tactic to create curiosity with a viewer by doing three key things. First off, he immediately creates curiosity by having all these products from different decades in front of him. Secondly, he immediately confirms that the viewer will get what they clicked for. But thirdly, he does something even more clever in these first 8 seconds. He adds another level of intrigue by highlighting two products that are even more interesting. What Nick essentially does by using this tactic is set up the expectation for the viewer so they can experience the mini payoffs later. The viewer now knows that if they stick around, they will find out what Kool-Aid from the 1940s tastes like, what rare canned Doritos from the 1950s were like, and on top of all that, all the other products in this final shot. If a viewer was interested and clicked because of the title and thumbnail, the curiosity just got even higher by the tactic Nick uses in the first seconds. And because of this tactic, a viewer is likely to stick around longer because they now have all these little curiosity gaps in their head that they want solved. That's how setting up mini payoffs early in your video will help you maintain the viewer for longer periods of time. But there's something else Nick does to make the setup of his mini payoffs even stronger. He uses something we call teaser statements. Let's see how he uses teaser statements in another one of his most popular videos called YouTubers Control What I Cook for 24 Hours.
It's time for a little challenge from ZHC, one of the best artists on all of YouTube.
Hey Nick, carve a watermelon in the shape of Gordon Ramsay's face.
I have no idea how I'm gonna complete this challenge because I've never carved a watermelon before. Guess I'll give it my best shot.
Nick, I could do it.
All right, I've given Manny all the tools he could possibly need, and he's got 8 hours to carve the best watermelon of his life. While he's doing that, I'm gonna head off and complete a few other challenges. Good luck, Manny.
It's such a simple trick, but it's incredibly effective. So effective that a lot of YouTubers, including Mr. Beast, use it. Don't believe me? Watch this.
While we're underwater, Tariq and Nolan are also on a $50,000 safari in Africa. And we're gonna see if we see more cool creatures down here than they do over there.
Spoiler, we will.
This is gorgeous. All right, let's go find the king of the jungle.
Anyway, Nick doesn't stop there. He knows people, especially new viewers, have short attention spans. So in a lot of his most popular videos, he keeps reminders of these pending payoffs in a simple yet very effective way. YouTube chapters. For example, in his video titled I Tested 1-Star Kitchen Gadgets, he titles his chapters in such a way that there is still intrigue in what is still to come if people start checking the chapter names. It's like he's saying, don't go anywhere because this crazy bacon microwave is still coming. Now, over time, Nick's videos have become longer and longer on average, like a lot of YouTubers' videos nowadays. And you might wonder, how does Nick keep the same people watching for longer videos? Well, he's got a trick for that too. And to explain how, we need to go back to where I told you about mini payoffs. A story can be structured in several ways, but on YouTube, it tends to follow a different format versus when you watch a movie at the cinema, for example. Big movies tend to rely on one big payoff at the end, where the whole story comes together and something big is revealed to the viewer, leaving them satisfied or unsatisfied. Looking at you, Inception. On YouTube, it's better to think of your story as a game with checkpoints. Every checkpoint needs to release that sweet thing most viewers chase, and that's dopamine. And the reason why is pretty simple. There is an almost infinite amount of content available at all times to viewers. So clicking off to another video that looks interesting is very easy and done with the click of a button or the tap on the screen. So that's why Nick's videos work so well. He implements these strong checkpoints throughout the video where the viewer gets to feel that small dopamine release, carrying them to the end of the video. It's like you clicking the subscribe button and seeing that little animation. It's very nice. You should try it. Down there. And besides getting bombarded with dopamine throughout researching Nick, it also made me very hungry as well. Thank you for that, Nick. Anyway, here's the truth. Nick's approach is all about psychology. He's tapping into our natural curiosity and fear of missing out. When he says things will get crazier and crazier as the video goes on, he's basically activating our FOMO. We stick around because we don't want to miss the craziest part. However, there is still one huge problem. You can have all these amazing storytelling hacks and YouTube retention tricks up your sleeve, but if you can't get people to click your stuff, it's all for nothing. So what's Nick's secret to crafting irresistible video concepts? That brings us to part 2 of his YouTube growth strategy, the idea. And in this part, Nick also created a system that became foolproof. I call it his 3-part idea filter. First, he looks at evidence. When you come up with video ideas, you want to validate if an idea has done well on the platform before. If it did, you could ask yourself, how can I add my unique spin or spice to it? If there is no evidence that your idea did well in any way or shape before, it decreases your odds of your idea doing well. Because, well, there's no evidence. Nick uses this strongly. All of his most popular video topics can be traced back to other older viral videos. Second, he ensures it fits one of his formats before he commits to the idea. John Uche showed really well how Nick has formats that he keeps repeating. The reason why this is important is because you want to build a predictable channel. And I've said this before. If Nick goes from creating cooking videos to racing go-karts and then giving, I don't know, business advice, his channel will become a very mixed bag of different types of viewers who enjoy different types of content. And that will result in his number of views per video being very inconsistent. And that brings me to the last part of his idea filter. Fit. Any great YouTuber will always ask themselves these 3 questions before they commit to an idea. 1. Does this video idea excite my hardcore fans? 2. Does this video idea excite the people who watch me sometimes? And 3. Does this video idea excite completely new viewers? If the answer is yes to all 3, you most probably have a great video idea on your hands, but only if the idea got greenlit through parts 1 and 2 of the filter. Now, you might be thinking, we have great ideas and great stories. We can go viral now, right? Wrong. Because there is still one part missing, as you can see, a part that, according to Nick's own words, is so important that it's 50% of the reason why a video goes viral. Thumbnails. The truth is, Nick DiGiovanni isn't just a master chef, he's a master of YouTube thumbnails as well. Nick's approach is light years ahead of what most creators are doing. Let me explain. First, let me ask you this. When you create the packaging of your video, so the title and thumbnail, how many thumbnail concepts are you coming up with? Most of you who are actually answering honestly right now will say one good idea. Well, Nick and his team create 3 completely different thumbnail concepts every single time. The reason why is simple. The more concepts you test, the bigger the chance you'll find that big winner that will make your video go viral. Simple math. But Nick doesn't stop there. Once Nick and his team have identified the winning concept, they refine it. And when I say refine, I mean refine. Sometimes they will create up to 50 variations of a single thumbnail, tweaking every little detail until they've created the version that performs best. Now, obviously, this level of testing might seem excessive to beginner creators. And honestly, for beginners, it is. But there's a lesson here. If you're starting a YouTube channel or you're still in the beginning stages, it's good to get into the habit of creating multiple concepts for your video idea. Settling for the first concept is always a big risk because you'll never know if you settled for the one. Sure, you might have a gut feeling, but that gut feeling takes years to develop to the point where you are right most of the time. But for Nick and similar creators at his level, testing 50 variants of the same thumbnail is just part of the process. He understands that thumbnails are equally as important as the content itself. So what's part of the secret to Nick's consistently high-performing videos? It's the 3-part thumbnail formula he uses in his strategy: different concepts, relentless refinement, and outlier-based designs. The results of all this? Explosive growth on YouTube. Over 8.5 million subscribers gained in just the past 12 months. Nick's channel blew up because people weren't just watching his videos, they were watching them and coming back for more. It's a cycle of engagement that the YouTube algorithm absolutely loves. So what can you and other creators learn from Nick's meteoric rise? Well, besides Nick's YouTube growth strategy that we revealed so far, the key takeaway is this. Nick initially gave up because he felt like he flopped. But little did he know, he just needed the reps to create a strategy and systems that would help him grow consistently. YouTube is not about direct viral success. It's about constantly evolving, experimenting, and innovating. It's about treating you and your channel like a living, breathing thing that needs to grow and change to survive. The only reason why Nick beats the YouTube algorithm is because his growth strategy obsesses over the viewers, not the algorithm. Remember, YouTube's sole focus with its algorithm is understanding viewers. So if you obsess over the same thing, like Nick has been doing, the views will follow. And lastly, age or experience is not a defining factor for this. Don't believe me? I can prove it to you. These 2 kids got more views than Mr. Beast in 7 days. How? Click the video to find out.